Hi all, welcome to another session of ESI Business Use Case webinar series. Thank you all for registering and joining with us today. In our today's session, we would like to demonstrate EasyStepIn's end-to-end vendor management automation solution using DELL Boomi. So coming to the business requirement here is to provide an efficient solution for vendor management activities of a company, say like vendor onboarding or offboarding, data synchronization with multiple end applications, timesheets, raising invoices, making payments, payment confirmations, settlements to the vendor on resource termination, etc. We need an unified solution that automates all this process. For people who are wondering about who is a vendor, so vendor can actually be of different types, like say staffing, hardware providers, software providers, etc. So to explain this in brief, let's see staffing vendors and CWFs. So under employees, we have employee, intern, seasonal, and experts. And under CWFs, we have OSPs, individual contributors, agencies, and outsourcers. So the CWFs are the employees of the staffing vendor companies. They are sent to a different company to work. So these vendors enroll with other companies to be informed with requirement and also to provide their eligible resources when required. So for example, say EasyStepIn have got a project requirement on MuleSoft for 10 resources, right? So at EasyStepIn, we have only 5 MuleSoft resources and we need 5 more. So we approach the vendor companies that are already onboarded with us and we interview the resources and allocate them to the project. So they will be on the payroll of the vendor company but work for the requirement at EasyStepIn. Right? So the challenges in the existing solution is that there is no unified solution to manage data across all the various end applications. Adding and removing a vendor was very difficult. Effective error handling for all the failed transactions. The execution time was very high, and there were also data synchronization issues. So we at EasyStepIn have proposed a unified solution using DELL Boomi. Let's now see the architecture diagram. So as already said, we have different functionalities in this project. So we have different flows for different functionalities, like say one for vendor onboard, offboard, one for invoices, one for purchase orders, etc. So this is the architecture diagram for vendor onboard, offboard. So the request for vendor onboard, offboard can come from different sources, say like VMS UI, external applications, and Slack bot, etc. So we get the request here, and based on the vendor type, that is say staffing, web provider, or software providers, the data is routed to the various applications here. Say for example, if vendor type is staffing, the data is sent to SuccessFactors, Salesforce, Jira, Workday, and NetSuite. And if the vendor type is hardware provider, the data is sent only to Salesforce, Workday, and NetSuite. API is triggered and validates the timesheets, billing, etc. by checking the data in Workday. Payment through QuickBooks to the vendor, and a confirmation also is sent back. So in case of any failed transactions, they are stored in the Atom queue. So we have a separate integration that pulls records from Atom queues, and they are reprocessed just by correcting the data. So with this, we can actually achieve zero data loss, right? So we have the complete logic that is required, and let's now see the Boomi process flow and the structure. We have only given the skeleton of the process here and have not configured anything. Here you'll be able to see business use case under which we have vendor management automation. So I'll expand this. Here you'll be able to see API services, common components, and integrations. So API services is where we have all the different APIs that are exposed, and common components. So these are some of the best practices that are provided by EasyStepIn. So in the common components, we have common connections. So these are reused across all the processes, and common error framework, which is reused across all the processes. And under integrations, if you see, as said, the business use case have different functionalities like vendor onboarding, invoices, purchase orders, etc. Right? So we have each folder for each functionality. So let me open vendor onboard offboard process. So here, if you see, this is just a layout at a high level. I have not configured anything. We have exposed this as a service. This receives or listens for requests. So once you get a request for vendor onboard or offboard, it routes the data based on the vendor type. So vendor types are three different here: staffing, assets provider, and software provider. So if it is equal to staffing, the data gets replicated for different end applications here. And if it is equal to assets provider, we have three different end applications. And for software providers, we have two different end applications. So data gets replicated here. Common error handling. Okay? And we have different processes for invoices, for example. So I have that open here. So even this has been exposed as a service, so that receives a request, and this looks up data in the database and validates it with Workday, and the payment will be initiated using QuickBooks, and the confirmation mail will be sent. So again, we have the common error handling here. So this way we implement different processes, different functionalities using DELL Boomi processes. Yes, so these are the different data process and applications that are used. Coming to the business outcomes, with this design approach, the development time was reduced drastically. They were able to have efficient results with less resources and within very less time. They could also easily manage trusted data across all different end applications that they were having.